This, I think, is a significant contributory factor, but it is too early yet to say whether it is the sole factor. Rather, I might like to deal with it by way of exception and to try to identify what did not appear to be behind this latest outbreak of disorder. We've seen in the UK over the last 20 or 30 years riot situations that have had a variety of causes. We think of a notable occasion in 1990 where there was major disorder on the basis of a law passed concerning a local tax, the poll tax riots. And we think back to the early 1980s and the urban unrest in London and other UK cities, which had seemed at the time to be very much connected with a style of policing a particular section of the community. It does not seem to be the case that the recent problems could be attributed either to a law or indeed to a general style of policing. Leaves us perhaps with just some brief comments on that third question about lessons learned. I think those will emerge with greater clarity in coming months, but at this stage I feel that it is worth pointing out that amongst those lessons learned is the opportunity to identify certain principles by which the police operate, principles that UK citizens hold in respect of their police. What do people demand of us? That's where I think we complete the circle and return to Robert Peel, Richard Mayne, and recognise that the response to any crime situation or disorder situation is a collective one. It has been said elsewhere that the matter of policing or crime is too serious to be left to the police. The question of rioting is most definitely too serious to be left to the police. So there are no doubt strategic responses to these situations which would include police tactics in public order situations, the communication of information to communities, to businesses, and so on. And below that, or within that, would be how we engage with our communities at a very basic level. We have in recent years benefited from the neighbourhood policing programme and the creation of 630 safer neighbourhood teams working throughout London. It is a personal opinion, but I believe that this model of policing is going to be essential to responding to the August situation. I say that because whilst we hope that the troubles that we saw in August were isolated and limited, the response to those continues. The ongoing arrest of people implicated in those situations, the processes of prosecution and the processes of rebuilding relationships in certain communities is very much a matter of the present and the future. That said, I would like to speak about that future in relation to one thing. I've had the pleasure of working with colleagues from EFAS on more than one project. Most recently working on a project which has looked at the community engagement for civic order policing and security. Through this project we've looked at the many ways, not just in the UK but across Europe, volunteer bodies have engaged in actions that are perhaps traditionally associated with policing. So by that I mean patrolling, dealing with certain types of situation, and taking an active part in the task of policing, which, as I said, from a UK perspective is one that belongs to all, with the assistance of those of us who do it full time. What it has done for me this project is to reinforce that fundamental principle that police officers can only be effective when they operate with the support of the community that they police. It is a service. It is a service of enforcement, but it is on behalf of and with the consent of those who are policed, which indeed includes ourselves. It has also convinced me that the maintenance of order relies on, if you like, the biggest gang there is. And the biggest gang there is the law-abiding majority. The law-abiding majority can demonstrate its power by undertaking these various voluntary activities. Some of the examples we've seen, and I have repeatedly come back, in fact, to examples seen in Italy, and particularly in the city of Bologna, where they validate associations to undertake tasks on behalf of the municipality in a model which to me seems exemplary and certainly worthy of more concentrated research. In the UK we have examples, perhaps at this point in this short presentation it's not a good time to go in depth into this, but we do have volunteer police officers who have all the same powers of a regular police officer. We have initiatives such as street pastors, where members of a particular, in fact, faith community have come together to offer their services at the most unattractive times of the day, working between midnight and 4 a.m, helping people who find themselves vulnerable through drink or drugs or other things, who are there really just to meet that social need. I think it's for us as professional police officers to recognise that that work, whilst it is not enforcement based, contributes significantly to the task of policing by removing the vulnerable, by removing opportunities for crime. All of this tells me that the maintenance of order and indeed crime prevention is a collective act, that there are many opportunities for us to develop this area. And if we've had an experience in the UK recently where prevention or public order methods have failed, then they are no more than an opportunity to improve our practice.